Members of the legendary boy group 112 have finally opened up and spilled some serious tea about what Usher really experienced at Puffy's mansion. We're talking behind-the-scenes stuff that fans have only been speculating about for years. The pressure Usher faced was huge, and the dark side of those infamous parties is coming to light finally. With Diddy in trial and soon to be behind bars, the entire industry is getting exposed slowly. But first things first, let's take it all the way back to the Dirty South to see where 112 even came from. You see, members of 112 weren't born into fame, but what they did have was raw talent, real passion, and the kind of hustle that could take them straight from local talent shows to Grammy night. And after one life-changing audition, their path was set. Platinum plaques, hit records, and red carpet moments. But the behind the scenes was pure chaos. So here's the origin story. Mike Keith, Darren Jones, and Reginald Finley were just some Atlanta teens trying to make it big. Mike and Darren linked up back in middle school, then Red joined the mix when they were all in high school. They later found Aldon Logan, who had a bass voice so deep it shook the room, and the guys knew he was the missing piece. Then came Marvin Skandrick, aka Slim, with that airy falsetto that would later become their signature sound. They started performing at talent shows under the name Fort, which stood for Forever En Route to Excellence. But it was at one of these shows that destiny came knocking. A man named Kevin Wales caught their performance and thought they might be the next greatest thing. So much so that he ran to his industry homeboy Diddy and told him what's up. Now hold up, cause plot twist, the group had already caught the attention of ATL super producer Dallas Austin and even recorded a demo. But once that tape landed in Diddy's hands, he was intrigued, but not sold. So when he flew into ATL for business, he agreed to meet the boys. But the meeting went down in a parking lot because none of them were old enough to get into the actual club. The grind was real. By then, Reg and Alden had dipped, and that's when Q Parker slid into the group. And even though they nailed the audition, Diddy was still playing hard to get. It took Kim Porter, Usher, and Faith Evans to convince him that letting 112 go would be the biggest mistake of his life. And clearly, they were right, because Diddy finally signed them to Bad Boy Records. The group renamed themselves 112 after the Atlanta nightclub, where they had that legendary audition, and it was a full circle moment. So in May 1996, 112 drops their debut single, Only You, and it popped. Number 13 on the Hot 100, number 3 on the R&B charts, and yes, the remix featured none other than Biggie and Maze. Their debut album drops in August, and thanks to slow jam classics like Cupid, they go double platinum. The next year, they're holding Grammy Gold for their iconic feature on I'll Be Missing You with Diddy and Faith. But this is where it gets juicy. Although they always said, we're a group of 4 lead singers, Diddy wanted only one frontman, and guess who he picked? Slim, that whispery, nasal, high-pitched tone. Diddy saw the money in it, and it worked. Slim stood out not just in the group, but against every R&B dude on the charts. Their second album, Room 112, dropped in '98 with bops like Love Me with Maze and Anywhere with Lil Zane. But while the fame was rising, the coins were not. The guys were topping charts and flying around the world, but their bank accounts were not there yet. Still, they kept it pushing. That may as well be the reason why their little beef with Jagged Edge came about. See, years later, on The Breakfast Club in 2017, 112 spilled some tea on the real reason behind their beef with fellow ATL R&B group Jagged Edge. So get this, 112 actually wanted to tour with J.E. to double the fan base and double the bag, right? But apparently, they also came up with a sneaky lil plan to fake a beef to get people talking and boost ticket sales. Jagged Edge wasn't having it, though they clapped back just as hard. But after some face-to-face convo, everything got squashed. At least for the moment. Now, fast forward to when 112 was ready to work on their third album. Here's where things get messy. Diddy couldn't be hands-on like he used to because he was tied up in all kinds of legal drama. Remember that whole New York club shooting in '99? That situation was draining his time and attention, so instead of recording at Diddy's fancy studio, the boys packed it up and went down to Nashville to do their thing. And guess what? Even without Diddy, the album, Part 3, dropped in 2001 and it did numbers. It's Over Now set the tone, and then Peaches and Cream came through and changed the game. That one's still their biggest hit to date, but you know how it goes. When it was time to renegotiate their contract, the group had grown up, gotten wiser, and they said nah to Diddy's offer. They dipped from Bad Boy and signed with Def Jam in 2002. Their fourth album, Hot and Wet, dropped in 2003, but it didn't hit like the previous ones. Still, they kept pushing and came back strong in 2005 with Pleasure and Pain, which had You Already Know, a fan fave, and went platinum. Now here's where it starts unraveling. Right after that album, the group quietly split and Def Jam dropped them. Over the next decade, all four members tried the solo route. Mike was first with an album in '08. Then Slim got serious and signed his own label deal. He dropped Love's Crazy the same year. Darren popped out with Uncensored in 2010 after a teaser EP. And Q finally gave us his solo moment with The Manual in 2012. But the tea started boiling in 2012 when Darren confirmed they were all cool again and did a summer tour together. But was it really smooth behind the scenes? Not exactly. By 2014, Q had teamed up with Wingo from Jagged Edge and RL from Next to form a whole new group called QRL. Some fans were side-eyeing Q for that. It didn't stop all four 112 members from hitting the stage in 2015 at the BET Awards for that iconic Bad Boy reunion. That performance helped spark the full Bad Boy reunion tour the next year. By 2017, fans got the news they'd been waiting for. A brand new 112 album was coming, and they did not disappoint. That summer, they teased us with Strawberry and Dangerous Games, and then boom, Q, Mike, Slim, Darren dropped their first album in 12 years that October. One of the standout moments? A collab with their former rivals turned besties, Jagged Edge, on a track called Both of Us, but the piece didn't last. Trouble in Paradise. Less than a year later, drama hit again. Q and Darren dipped, leaving Mike and Slim to hold it down. And Slim went off. He aired it all out in a now deleted IG post, even dropping receipts. He was like, "I've been loyal, I never left, I didn't cheat the group," and basically accused Q and Darren of being the ones who broke 112 up both times. Q didn't stay quiet though. He shifted gears and launched The Bridge Project, an artsy collaborative album with over 50 artists meant to explore brotherhood in music. He dropped the first track, Made For, in 2020. Meanwhile, Darren stayed booked and busy writing and producing for others. He dropped an album called Human in 2019 and came back in 2021 with a single called Impossible. Now, let's talk about that 2020 Versus battle, 112 verses, Jagged Edge. Fans were hyped, hoping all four original members would pop out, but nope. Q and Darren said they couldn't participate because of an ongoing legal issue over the 112 name. They had actually sued Slim and Mike back in 2018, claiming they were trying to trademark the name behind their backs. Then, Slim clapped back with his own lawsuit accusing them of trademark infringement and false advertising. It was giving courtroom drama, not R&B reunion. Still, Mike and Slim pushed forward. They dropped Spend It All in July 2020 as the lead single from their EP 112 Forever, Slim and Mike, which they released independently in September. Sadly, during this time, Mike caught COVID-19 and Slim had to hold everything down. And get this, Slim had already gone through COVID earlier that year too. The duo kept pushing, dropping more singles and touring across the US in 2021. And even though fans still dream of seeing all four members back together, Slim and Mike say they're sticking as a twosome. But Whatever the case might be with 112, Diddy was the one who is always brought up when we talk about the rise and fall of this group. In fact, we need to bring up Usher and Clive Davis too, because all of this runs way deeper than just Diddy. It just so happens that Diddy is on the ropes now and all eyes are on him. You see, was once painted as this powerful mentor, right? It was the case with 112, it was the case with Usher. With Usher, for example, who was just a youngin' trying to survive in the music industry, Diddy was the gatekeeper. But now, with all these court documents leaking, lawsuits flying left and right, and people testifying under oath, folks are side-eyeing everything that used to seem normal. Just the other day, we heard Dawn Richard from Danity Kane get up on that stand and drop a bombshell. She said back in 2010, they were at this upscale West Hollywood restaurant, right? Picture this: Usher, Ne-Yo, Jimmy Iovine, and Big Daddy Kane just sitting around trying to enjoy a little evening out, and then boom, Diddy goes off and punches Cassie in the stomach mid-convo. Dawn said she leaned over to Cassie and told her they should get out, and they dipped. But that was just part one. The real horror came as they were leaving. Dawn says once they got into the car, Diddy snapped. He grabbed Cassie, slapped her, and then punched her in the mouth while yelling at her to shut the F up. And guess who was there for all of it? Usher. Makes you wonder, what was really going on behind the scenes? Most people would have cut ties immediately after witnessing something like that, but Usher stayed close. With everything coming out, people are asking, was it loyalty, fear, or was he just way deeper in this web than anybody realized? Let's not forget, when the feds came busting through Diddy's Manhattan spot, it wasn't no casual walk in the park. They found stacks of designer goods, drawers full of baby oil bottles, weapons, tapes, and hard drives. Now, nobody's saying Usher did anything, but the fact that he's been so silent all these years and that he was in the room when Diddy put hands on Cassie, that he's connected to both Diddy and Clive Davis. So the real question is, what did Usher see? What did he know? And how deep did that rabbit hole really go? So now, Usher's name is being dragged right into Diddy's legal drama. And if you've been paying attention, it was only a matter of time. People are side-eyeing hard because Usher wasn't just a casual mentee. When he was just 13 years old, Diddy became his legal guardian. Usher was out here living in Diddy's Manhattan mansion, which, might I remind you, is the same spot the feds recently raided and reportedly found tapes, discs, weapons, baby oil, and some seriously sketchy materials. So now the question is, what could be on those tapes? Because Usher at that time was basically Diddy's kid. It wasn't just mentorship, it was full-on grooming vibes. And now fans are speculating, could Usher be featured on some of those hard drives? Not in a guilty way, but maybe as a victim or witness to some wild behavior. And let's get into something Usher told Rolling Stone back in 2004. He said Diddy introduced him to a whole new world of ST activities. What kind of grown man is showing that to a 13-year-old child he's legally responsible for? The more we hear, the less it feels like mentorship and the more it screams manipulation. Now, add Clive Davis into this stew, and it gets even murkier. Clive wasn't just any old exec to Diddy. He was the godfather of his career. They go way back to when Diddy was just 23 years old, hustling to break into the upper echelons of the industry. And who handed him the key? Clive Davis. But see, Clive didn't just open doors. He might have helped cover up a few scandals too. Fans are now wondering if Clive helped keep Diddy's image squeaky clean in the early days while the dirt got swept under the rug. And now, that very same Clive is being named in theories involving secret parties, manipulation, and even trafficking level allegations. It's getting dark, but let's rewind for a sec. Before Diddy was known for his wild white parties, Clive was the original king of extravagant industry bashes. We're talking all the biggest names, velvet ropes, no phones, and lots of secrecy. Now, folks are saying Diddy didn't invent the party lifestyle, he just inherited it from Clive. And let's be honest, wherever Diddy was, Usher wasn't far behind. These parties, Flavor Camp? Usher was there. In fact, in 1994, teenage Usher left Atlanta and moved to New York to live with Diddy. That's when he enrolled in what Diddy called Flavor Camp, which was supposed to be a music industry crash course. But what Usher later described sounded more like boot camp meets Sodom and Gomorrah. He told Howard Stern years later that the parties were wild, the lifestyle was intense, and he was never really sure if he wanted to be a part of it, but he was in it.
Crazy thing. Now that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you over to
City.
something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's what it was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In the 90s, do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and like nonstop, right?
No, not really.
Come on.
But hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
And now rumors are swirling that Diddy might have even pimped Usher out to Clive Davis back in the day. Some folks are saying Usher may have been used as a pawn to please certain powerful execs in exchange for contracts or influence. It's giving very much industry trade-offs, and people are wondering if Clive signed Usher for a short period to keep things quiet. Wherever Usher was, Clive was suddenly around too. The point is, this ain't just a Diddy story anymore. It's starting to look like a whole network, with young stars like Usher caught in the middle of something much, much bigger than we ever realized. Now, there's all kinds of rumors surrounding Usher. People are now saying that he might have been into substances early on, which supposedly led him to catch an STD. That's where all the rumors started swirling about him having an STD, and it's mainly because he was super physical from a young age. There's been a bunch of chatter online about how Diddy might have actually given Usher an STD when Usher was just 15. No one really knows where these rumors kicked off, but some think it's because Usher once said Diddy used to take him to these wild adult-only parties as a teen. Like, imagine being a young Usher going to Puff Daddy's place back in the 90s. That spot was loaded with non-stop women and crazy vibes. A lot of people believe Diddy pushed Usher into some shady stuff or was obsessed with certain twisted things. And get this, a woman who was a fan actually sued Usher, saying she caught an STD from him after hooking up post-show. She even won the lawsuit. So now people are calling Usher nasty, saying he's given STDs to several women, maybe men too, and that he has a court order telling him to stop or face jail. There's even a video floating around with Diddy, Usher, and Kevin Hart where Diddy basically drops a hint, maybe on purpose, to embarrass Usher. He jokes about them fighting over cornflakes in the morning, implying they spent the night together. Kevin Hart looks super awkward and quickly changes the subject. Now, here's where things get wild. Usher didn't just stop at being Diddy's protege. He went ahead and did the same thing with Justin Bieber. Jaguar Wright claimed that Usher didn't just mentor Bieber, he actually set him up to spend 2 whole days alone with Diddy. Apparently Diddy had been trying to get Bieber alone for a while, but Bieber's team kept shutting it down until Usher stepped in. Back in 2008, Usher introduced the world to a 14-year-old Justin Bieber, and from there, Bieber's career exploded. Usher even co-produced Bieber's first hit when he was just 15. Around that time, a clip went viral showing Bieber at Diddy's mansion, saying he'd be spending 48 hours there. No parents, no label people, just Bieber and Diddy. Sounds kind of creepy when you think about it. Now, according to some legal docs, Diddy's private parties were not just normal celeb get-togethers, they were reportedly filled with some seriously disturbing behavior, and some of it was even caught on camera. FBI raids found loads of footage from these late-night, invite-only parties, and if any of it shows Usher there, things could get ugly fast. Diddy's legal team says everything was legal and consensual, but if a minor was involved, that defense falls apart real quick. And if Usher knowingly let Bieber walk into that environment, that's not just shady, that's dangerous. That's why Jaguar Wright's claims hit so hard. She's basically saying Usher knew exactly what was going down and still sent Bieber to Diddy. Usher's been radio silent lately. No social media, no interviews, just some weak excuse about his accounts being hacked. fans were quick to jump to conclusions, especially with Diddy facing serious charges and possibly over 120 victims involved. So the big question, was Usher just another victim caught up in Diddy's mess? Or was he part of the problem? No one really knows yet. What do you think? Is it possible that Usher got caught up with the wrong crowd at the wrong time? Let us know about it down below.